Hello and welcome back to my 29-week surrogacy pregnancy update. As you can see, it's becoming more of a shelf now, which is quite handy. The cat actually seems to quite like it. She quite often just chills here. So she's purring for once as well. Happy cat. So here we are at 29 weeks, growing aplenty. I've started, I didn't want to pull down the leggings anymore because, how do I say this? I can't see past my belly anymore, so I don't want to accidentally reveal something and be going through editing like, oh crap, better not use that. So I'm going to be doing a reveal with the top from now on. So here we are, nice little side view. People have started asking quite frequently now when I'm due, so I'm sort of taking that as a sign that I'm getting quite big and, you know, it's kind of starting to get close to the end. Not that I'm personally counting down at this stage, I'm still kind of counting up. 29 weeks still feels like, yeah, 11 weeks still to go, so I'm not counting down just yet. So not much has changed with my body per se this week, you know, other than getting slightly bigger, but the baby's movements have increased so dramatically. So one night, I think it was Thursday night, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning for a pee, which was 5 hours instead of the usual 4 hours, so breaking records over here. And when I laid back down, I was on my left side and the baby was kicking, but sort of more like punching, I think, because his legs are predominantly up here, his head's, I don't know, like somewhere here. And the movements were kind of here and they weren't as hard as a kick. So I noticed he was doing it every single time I was breathing in and breathing out. Doof, doof. So I rolled onto my back, carried on, rolled onto my right side, he carried on. Now I probably could have gone to sleep at this point because it doesn't really disturb me that much. I sleep through pretty much anything. But I was just fascinated. I was like, wow, he's really hitting me every single time I breathe. I held my breath for a few seconds and he'd start breathing again, he'd start sort of punching again. And I timed it, it was about 15 minutes. So the following day, I worked out how many breaths I take in a minute, because you breathe quite a lot shallower when you're pregnant. So it was 38 ins and outs. So even if I round this down massively to 30, cat's sniffing about, what are you doing? Even if I round this down to like 30, times that by 15 minutes comes to 450 movements. He was going mental. So I think the parents have got like a nice little lightweight boxer on their hands. And speaking of the baby's parents, unfortunately they have got coronavirus. So Al's been quite ill with it, Laura not so much. She managed to do some yoga, so I don't think it's really knocked it out of her too much. She said she had like a really long dizzy spell for a little while, but that turns out to be an inner ear infection, which is interesting, another side effect of COVID that I didn't know about. And there seem to be a lot more people that I directly know about that have COVID this time round rather than the last time, and it's definitely a bit more concerning. The positive to this, and I do love to put a positive spin on anything, is that they will now have the antibodies. So whatever situation we come to in March, the due date's the 22nd of March, if the hospital don't want to allow the parents in, I think we could almost use it as like a bartering tool. Oh, but they've got antibodies, they had COVID in January. So hopefully it works out kind of for the best. And obviously they're going to pull through it, they're going to be okay. And yeah, it could be quite useful. With the hospital and the birth and everything, you know, it is quite a concern because they have to be there for the baby. I'm not going to be looking after the baby once it's born. That's something quite important, I think, that the mum and the baby have skin to skin contact as soon as possible, and I don't want that. I don't want to start releasing all those hormones and everything. So I've even considered, if the COVID situation's still really bad, having a home birth, because I don't want to be putting myself into a hospital environment where there's loads of COVID patients and then end up with COVID while I'm recovering from childbirth. Could you imagine coughing up a lung while you're trying not to burst stitches? You know, it's not going to be pleasant for anyone. And for the baby as well, you know, you don't really want a newborn contracting COVID either. So yeah, I've considered home birth, as much as I'd rather be in a hospital in case anything goes wrong and you're all hands on deck. But at the same time, I think we're just going to have to play it by ear. But then also I kind of keep flipping from I want an epidural to I don't want an epidural. So if I do, obviously going to have to go to hospital. I was speaking to a friend of mine who's an anaesthetist on labour ward, so he gives the epidurals, and he said things are pretty bad for pregnant women. Anyone heavily pregnant, and I think I fall in that category now, if they're above 24 weeks, they give them a C-section if they need medical intervention. So if they need intubating, anything more severe than oxygen, basically. So I'm being super careful with COVID at the moment. I'm not taking any risks at all. You know, it doesn't feel like this baby's cooked. I've definitely not been pregnant for long enough to bring him into the world. So I'm pretty much staying at home all the time. I did actually go for a COVID test today because I've been coughing for the past 2 days. I don't know if you can hear, I sound a little bit hoarse. Is that the right word? I just wanted to sort of rule it out because I have been coughing for a couple of days. So just to make sure everything's okay. There is some talk that the vaccine will get approval for pregnant women pretty soon. They've been doing it over in the States and they haven't actually officially allowed it in the UK yet. On the government website it still says that pregnant women aren't to have it. Even if you've had your first dose, then find out you're pregnant, they recommend you don't have your second dose. And I think there's quite a lot of worry around thalidomide and things like that, but that was caused by a morning sickness drug, which was is taken in the very early stages of pregnancy, whereas being 29 weeks, the baby is fully developed at this point, he's just putting on weight and growing. So I've spoken through with the parents and they're happy for me to have the vaccine if I am offered it, which would also benefit me as well. You know, if I can have it before I give birth, then that really helps my travel plans. If I've got that little card, I've got that ticket, the vaccine passport, you know, it should open up the world for me. Again, fingers crossed. And just moving on from COVID and all that negativity, I just wanted to quickly talk about the Braxton hicks because I have been getting them quite a lot for quite a number of weeks now, which I do think is more than a lot of pregnant women experience. So again, they're not painful, they don't last for very long, probably 30 seconds to a minute. All it is a hardening of my uterus, which it's here, and then it goes away again. Nothing more than that. So I've noticed why I was so aware of them. Where my uterus was must have been pressing right on my bladder, because every time I had a Braxton hick it would make me need to pee. So I'd mentally calculate, like, when was the last time I had a drink? I've not drunk anything for the past hour. I definitely don't need a pee. Sometimes it would catch me out, I'd go for a wee and be like, well, I didn't need a wee. So fortunately it's moved up and it's moved past that. But now when I get one, it's almost sort of digging me in the ribs. So again, I notice them every single time. If I'm sat like hunched in any way, it really puts pressure on the right hand side of my ribs and I have to sort of sit up straight until it passes. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Also, I think because I'm off work at the moment, I'm staying at home all the time, I just think I'm a little bit more aware of them. If I was doing 10 things at once at work and I had a Braxton hick, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't even notice it. Like, I might change my position but then completely forget it's even happened. So that's probably why I'm being so sensitive to them. And that is about all for this week. Didn't go for any runs, it's been too cold, I couldn't bear the thought of even stepping out the flat most days, so haven't done that. Did do a 30-minute exercise video though, which I'm going to link up above, because I want some non-pregnant people to try it, because honestly, like, I am in so much pain right now. Every time I sit to go to the loo or just anything, sit on the sofa, it really hurts. I feel like an old lady. So I definitely want some other people to try that video and let me know in the comments down below how you found it, if I'm just being weak because I'm 29 weeks pregnant, or if it is a genuinely good glute and quad workout. I think it's the latter. So anyway, thanks for watching as always. Please subscribe if you haven't, give the video a like, help me with the YouTube algorithms and all that. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.